The galaxy was vast, stretching across countless light-years of darkness, dotted with stars, planets, and civilizations of every kind. In the heart of this space, the Galactic Council ruled, a collection of species whose fleets and technologies had dominated the cosmos for centuries. They had treaties, laws, and powerful fleets that kept peace, at least in their eyes. Yet even the greatest of powers could ignore a warning, especially when it came from humans. Humans. A young species barely a century into interstellar travel, sending signals to warn of a threat they had discovered on the edges of known space. The Xerath Swarm. A massive collection of biomechanical warships that consumed everything in their path. Whole systems disappeared as if they were never there. Humans had studied the swarm for decades, sending ships to map their movements, to calculate speed, and to find a way to stop them. Every warning had been ignored. On the bridge of the human research vessel Aurora, Captain Rhea Malik stared at the hollow map of nearby star systems. Red dots flashed along the edge of the map, marking areas the swarm had already destroyed. The Aurora hummed softly as its engines adjusted for orbital drift. "Captain," said Lieutenant Omar Chen, her voice tense. "We've detected movement near the Virel sector. The swarm is closer than we thought." Rhea's eyes narrowed. "Send another transmission to the Council. Update them on the swarm's speed and trajectory. Make sure they understand it's not a threat we can handle alone. They must act now." "Yes, Captain." Omar's hands moved quickly over the console, sending another long-range encrypted signal to the Council. Across the galaxy, in the gleaming halls of the Galactic Council, the human's message arrived like many others before it. The council chamber was massive, with delegates from dozens of species. Tall, thin beings with translucent skin argued with stocky, armored species over the seating arrangement. Each of them ignored the blinking light that signaled a new human transmission. "Another warning," grumbled Admiral Torvak of the Krynox species. His voice was deep and rumbling. "Humans again. They say the same thing every time. We have enough fleets to handle minor threats. Why do we always entertain their panic?" Counselor Vera, a Seraphian with golden wings folded neatly behind her, replied calmly, "We must consider their message carefully. Humans have demonstrated technical skill, though I doubt they understand the full scale of galactic defense." Another counselor, an amphibious creature called Zolmar, snorted. "Careful? They are a young race, barely able to travel between stars. This Xerath swarm is likely just space debris or rogue ships. Let them worry about their own frontier." The vote was unanimous. The human warnings were dismissed. Again. Back on the Aurora, Rhea leaned back in her chair. "They won't listen," she said softly. "Not until it's too late. Then we prepare," Omar replied. "Our railguns are ready. The fleet will follow our lead if the Council fails to act." The railguns were humanity's pride. Unlike other species' slow, heavy weapons, humans had developed projectile weapons that could accelerate near the speed of light. They could destroy enemy ships from hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. The technology had been kept secret, partly to avoid interference from other species, and partly because humans wanted a real chance to survive when the swarm arrived. For the next several hours, the Aurora's crew worked tirelessly. Engineers calibrated the railguns, scientists ran simulations, and communication officers continued sending detailed warnings. Outside the ship, the stars stretched infinitely, indifferent to the human struggle. Rhea walked through the corridors, observing her crew. Each person moved with purpose. Despite the long hours and the constant tension, their faces were determined. Humans might be young, but they refused to be cowed by the galaxy's indifference. In a hidden research station orbiting a nearby gas giant, Dr. Elias Kwan studied the swarm's signals. On his console, the swarm's movement patterns were displayed in green lines against the blackness of space. "The swarm is unlike anything we've ever seen," Elias said. "It adapts, reorganizes, and consumes everything. Conventional weapons won't stop it. Only the railguns have a chance." "Then let's make sure we're ready," Rhea said. "Once it reaches the border, there will be no second chances." As the Aurora continued its watch, the humans also sent messages to other species along the frontier. Most ignored them, some mocked them, and a few quietly observed. Humans were slowly building alliances, but nothing substantial yet. They could not rely on anyone. Days passed. The swarm moved with terrifying speed, consuming one star system after another. Signals from the affected systems no longer returned. The human sensors picked up the remains, Planets shattered, fleets annihilated, populations gone. And yet, the Galactic Council continued its debates, blind to the devastation. Finally, a critical alert sounded aboard the Aurora. Sensors detected the swarm approaching the outer rim of Council-controlled space. "Captain," Omar said, "it's almost here. We need to warn the Council one last time before they see it with their own eyes." Ria's jaw tightened. "Send the message. Make it clear. No euphemisms. No speculation. The swarm is real, it is coming, and if they do not act, they will be destroyed." The message was sent. It was a detailed, undeniable warning, with projections, calculations, and real-time data from human scouts. But the Council's response was predictable. Silence. In orbit around a quiet blue planet on the fringe, the human fleet waited. The Aurora led several smaller warships, all armed with railguns and prepared for the swarm. Unlike the Council fleets, which relied on massive, slow-moving ships, humans had designed their vessels for speed, precision, and teamwork. They would not fight the swarm for glory. They would fight to survive. Ria looked at the holomap, noting the swarm's projected path. "It's coming faster than expected. Begin tactical drills. We may be the first to see battle, but we will not be the last to survive." Her crew nodded, setting up formations, running weapon diagnostics, and preparing defensive measures. Every human ship was a mobile fortress. Every railgun a spear against the darkness, and far away, the Council continued to ignore the warnings, confident in their fleets, proud in their history, and blind to the threat that approached. The first strike would change everything. The humans did not wait for permission. They would fight. They would survive. And they would show the galaxy what underestimated species were capable of. Because when the swarm came, there would be no room for diplomacy, no time for debate, and no chance for excuses. Only action, only railguns, only humans. The stars waited silently, and so did the humans. The darkness of space was suddenly alive with motion. In the distance, shapes flickered against the starlight, hundreds of biomechanical vessels moving with terrifying precision. The Zirath swarm had arrived. For centuries, the Galactic Council had believed themselves untouchable, their fleets invincible. Now that illusion was about to shatter. Captain Ria Malik stood on the bridge of the Aurora, her hands gripping the console. The human fleet was positioned at the edge of the Council sector, ready but outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The Council had not yet committed its fleets. They would arrive too late, as always. "Scanners confirm," Lieutenant Omar Chen said, her voice tight. "The swarm is larger than our previous estimates. They're moving faster, spreading across multiple vectors." Ria's eyes narrowed. "Weapons ready. Railguns online. Targeting systems calibrated. We may be few, but we are precise." Outside, the first tendrils of the swarm reached the sector's outermost colonies. Reports arrived in a flood. Entire fleets destroyed within hours. Worlds shattered, communications cut. The Council scrambled to respond, but their ships were massive and slow, unable to match the speed of the relentless swarm. "Captain," Omar said, pointing at the main display, "the Zirath is approaching the First Fleet, the Council's flagship fleet. They have no idea what they are facing." Ria clenched her jaw. "Then we give them a demonstration. We may not save them all, but we will show the galaxy humans are not to be underestimated." The Aurora surged forward, small but nimble. Its railguns glinted, ready to fire. Unlike the Council's weapons, human railguns did not rely on heavy energy pulses or slow-moving missiles. They fired projectiles at near light speed, capable of striking targets across hundreds of thousands of kilometers before any enemy could react. The first shots were fired. Bright streaks of energy-white light tore through the void, piercing the closest swarm vessels. The tendrils of the swarm erupted in fire and sparks as the railgun rounds found their marks. "Direct hits," Omar called. "We've taken out 3 swarm tendrils in the first volley." Ria allowed herself a small nod. "Keep it up. Focus on their command nodes. We want them to hesitate." But the swarm adapted instantly. Its biomechanical ships shifted their formations, spreading to avoid concentrated fire. Tentacle-like appendages lashed out, striking at the human ships, testing their defenses. Small hits grazed the Aurora's hull, but the shields held. Humans were fast, adaptable, and coordinated in ways the swarm had never encountered. Far across the battlefield, the Council fleets were not so fortunate. Their massive battleships, designed for glory rather than speed, could not dodge the swarm's rapid strikes. One by one, the flagship vessels were pierced, destroyed, or consumed. The council admirals shouted orders, but the swarm ignored protocol, moving with a single purpose: destruction. "Captain," Omar said, voice tense, "the first fleet is falling. We can see it. They're losing formation, shields failing." Ria's heart sank. They never listened, and now they will pay. From the Aurora, human ships moved in a precise formation, firing railgun volleys in perfect synchronization. Each strike tore through the swarm, crippling the closest nodes. The humans were small in number, but every shot was calculated, every maneuver deliberate. Where the council relied on numbers and size, humans relied on skill and precision. "Target their supply tendrils," Ria ordered. "If we cut off their logistics, we slow the swarm down." Omar's fingers danced over the console. "Firing, direct hits on tendrils. They're breaking formation," the swarm screamed, a harsh mechanical sound that echoed across the sensors. For the first time it faltered, yet even as humans celebrated small victories, they knew the battle had just begun. The swarm was vast, relentless, and adaptive. On board the Aurora, engineers worked furiously to keep railguns firing continuously. The heat was intense, energy reserves drained quickly, and the crew had no time to rest. Yet every shot was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Meanwhile, council ships were burning. The first fleet flagship, a massive triangular ship named Dominion, erupted in flames as a swarm flagship tore through its hull. Hundreds of smaller ships were destroyed in moments. Panic swept through the council admirals. Their communications became chaotic. Commands were repeated, ignored, or misunderstood. In the midst of the chaos, Ria made a decision. "We will not wait for them. We go forward. We strike at the swarm's core nodes. If we can delay them long enough, we can save some systems and prove humans are a force to be reckoned with." The Aurora led the attack, weaving between swarm tendrils, firing railgun shots at key targets. Each projectile struck with devastating effect. Several swarm nodes erupted in explosions, sending debris across space. The human strategy was simple: hit fast, hit hard, and retreat before the swarm could adapt. But the cost was high. A smaller human ship, the Horizon, was caught in a swarm attack. Its shields failed, and it was shredded in seconds. Crew members cried out over comms. Ria's stomach tightened. Every loss reminded her that humans were still vulnerable. "Focus, people," she barked. "We fight for survival. Every ship counts. Every shot matters." Despite their losses, humans held the swarm at bay long enough for the council to realize their mistake. Across communication channels, panic-filled voices finally reached the human fleet. "Humans, how did you—" an admiral stammered. Ria's voice was calm but firm. "We warned you. We told you the swarm was coming. We offered help. Now you see why humans cannot be ignored." In orbit above a small shattered planet, the Aurora fired its last salvo before pulling back. The swarm had advanced, but human railguns had created gaps, slowing its progress. Entire nodes were destroyed. For the first time, the swarm hesitated. "Captain," Omar said, breathing heavily, "the swarm, it's retreating. At least for now." Ria allowed herself a grim smile. "We bought time. That's all we can do. The council may have ignored us, but we've shown the galaxy what humans can do when pushed to the edge." Even as the humans regrouped, the council fleets were decimated, thousands of ships destroyed, systems lost, worlds burned. Panic and fear spread across the chamber, where once there had been confidence and pride. Ria looked at the holomap. The swarm had slowed, but it was far from defeated. The humans had proven their power, but they also knew the fight was only beginning. The swarm would adapt, regroup, and strike again. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now it would pay attention, or perish. In the aftermath of the first strike, humans salvaged what they could. Crew members worked tirelessly to rescue survivors from council ships that had not completely exploded. Some were grateful, some resentful. Yet every human ship that survived was a symbol of resilience. "Prepare for the next engagement," Ria ordered. "We have shown the swarm that we are not prey. But we cannot fight forever. We need strategy allies and more firepower. The galaxy must learn that humans are not just capable, they are unstoppable when cornered." Outside, stars gleamed coldly. The Zirath swarm hovered in the darkness, waiting, calculating, adapting. Yet humans had struck first. They had shown courage, skill, and deadly precision. The first strike had been costly, But it had changed the balance. The Galactic Council, humbled and terrified, finally recognized that humans were no longer a species to be dismissed. Yet it was too late for the First Fleet. Thousands of lives were gone. Entire systems were lost. Only humans had survived, and only because they refused to follow the rules, refused to wait for permission, and refused to be underestimated. In the distance, the Aurora's railguns gleamed like spears against the night, and Captain Rhea Malik knew one thing for certain. The galaxy had ignored humans for too long. The next strike would be theirs, or it would be the last any of them would see. The war had begun, and humanity was ready. The first strike had been devastating. The Zirath swarm had torn through the Council's First Fleet, leaving nothing but silence and fire in its wake. Humans had survived where the mighty fleets had failed, their railguns cutting swathes through the enemy with surgical precision. Yet survival alone was not enough. The galaxy had been shaken, and Captain Rhea Malik knew that humans could not simply wait for the next attack. They had to take the fight to the swarm. On the bridge of the Aurora, the crew worked with quiet urgency. Holomaps displayed the swarm's scattered tendrils, highlighting weakened nodes, disrupted supply lines, and recently destroyed colonies. Rhea's eyes scanned every detail, planning their next move. "We've slowed them," Lieutenant Omar Chen said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion that lined her face. "But they are reorganizing. If we don't strike now, they'll recover and continue their advance." Rhea nodded. "We go on the offensive. We take the fight to the swarm's edge and show them that humans are not prey. They are predators." Across the human fleet, smaller warships readied themselves. Unlike the Council's massive ships, humans preferred speed, agility, and teamwork. Every vessel, from the largest frigate to the smallest scout, was equipped with railguns capable of extreme-range strikes. Unlike conventional weapons, these projectiles traveled near the speed of light, leaving almost no time for the enemy to react. Formations Alpha and Beta, Rhea commanded. Synchronize railgun fire. Target the swarm's forward nodes. We cut their advance and disrupt their coordination. The fleet moved like a single organism. Ships darted through space, zigzagging around debris and wreckage from destroyed worlds. Railguns fired in rapid succession, the streaks of light cutting through the darkness like blades. Each projectile found its mark, exploding against the biomechanical vessels and sending them spinning into the void. The swarm responded, but it was slower this time. It had not expected humans to attack so aggressively, so decisively. Its tendrils twisted and recoiled, trying to regroup. But humans were everywhere at once, attacking from multiple angles, retreating and striking again. "Captain," Omar said, pointing at the map, "their supply tendrils are damaged. We can cut them off entirely if we push forward." Rhea's lips pressed into a thin line. "Do it. The faster we disrupt their logistics, the longer we buy for the rest of the galaxy." With surgical precision, the human fleet struck. Railgun volleys tore through the swarm's support vessels, severing connections between nodes. Explosions lit the void and the swarm faltered, its advance halted for the first time. Humans had turned from defenders into hunters. Meanwhile, the Council, humbled and terrified, struggled to reorganize its forces. Communications channels buzzed with panic. Admirals shouted orders, but coordination was poor. Some ships tried to assist humans, but they moved slowly, awkwardly, and were often destroyed before they could make an impact. One Council admiral, a massive armored creature named Corval, finally sent a message to the Aurora. "Humans, we require your guidance. The swarm, it is overwhelming. Help us." Rhea leaned back in her chair. "We warned you. Now listen carefully. Follow our instructions or your fleets will be lost like the First Fleet." Corval's voice trembled. "We will understand. We will comply." Rhea turned to her crew. "Prepare to lead. We coordinate the counterattack. Every ship under our control will strike where I tell you. We will show the swarm, and the Council, what humans are capable of." The next few hours were a whirlwind of destruction and strategy. Humans struck the swarm's nodes with precision, each railgun volley carefully calculated to maximize damage while minimizing risk. Supply vessels exploded in fireballs, command nodes were shattered, and swarm tendrils twisted helplessly in the void. "Captain," Omar said, "the swarm's central cluster is exposed. We can push them back further if we target it directly." Rhea's eyes gleamed with determination. "Then we hit it. Full power. We show the swarm that humans are not to be trifled with. The Aurora led the assault, diving between the swarm's remaining tendrils. Railguns fired continuously, each shot striking with deadly accuracy. Smaller human ships flanked the swarm from above and below, creating crossfire zones that the enemy could not escape. Explosions echoed across space, each one a testament to human ingenuity and coordination. As the humans pushed forward, the swarm adapted, but slowly. Its response was reactive rather than proactive. Every time it shifted, humans anticipated the movement, striking again before it could recover. Speed, intelligence, and precision had become humanity's greatest weapons. In orbit around a shattered star system, Rhea watched as one of the swarm's flagship nodes erupted in fire. "We've done it," she said softly. "We've made them hesitate." Yet victory was not without cost. Several human ships had been damaged and some had been lost entirely. Engineers and medics worked tirelessly to repair and rescue, moving through wreckage while railguns continued to fire from the surviving vessels. Every loss reminded the humans that the swarm was formidable and relentless. The Council, now fully dependent on human leadership, followed every command from the Aurora. Ships that had once scorned humanity now moved as directed, forming precise formations, firing coordinated volleys, and even retreating when necessary to avoid losses. For the first time, humans were not just participants, they were leaders. "Captain," Omar said, pointing at the holomap, "the swarm is retreating again. They're pulling back to regroup." Rhea allowed herself a small smile. "We force them to rethink. Every step they take back is time we gain. Time to prepare, time to strengthen, and time to show the galaxy that humans are a force they cannot ignore." Even as the swarm withdrew, humans remained vigilant. They pursued, striking key nodes and cutting off escape routes. Each engagement taught them more about the enemy, and every victory built their confidence. Human ingenuity, Rhea said to herself quietly, is not just about weapons. It's about strategy, speed, and the will to survive. The next days were a blur of battles, repairs, and planning. Humans learned the swarm's patterns, discovered weaknesses in its formations, and began training Council fleets to operate under human guidance. Slowly, the Council began to see what humans had always known. It was not the size of a fleet that mattered, but how it was used. On board the Aurora, the crew grew closer, bonded by shared victories and shared losses. Engineers recalibrated railguns, medics tended to the wounded, and scouts scanned the void for any signs of the swarm's return. Each member of the crew knew their role, their importance, and the responsibility they carried, not just for humanity, but for the survival of countless species across the galaxy. "Captain," Omar said one night, "after hours of battle simulations, the Council is starting to trust us. Some of their admirals are even asking for advice before moving their ships." Rhea nodded. "Good, but trust is earned in battle, not words. We have to continue proving ourselves. The swarm will return, and when it does, we must be ready." And the swarm would return. Rhea knew it. The crew knew it. And soon the galaxy would know it too. But humanity had changed the course of the fight. They had gone from defenders to hunters, from ignored species to leaders in the counteroffensive. Across the void, railguns fired, ships weaved, and explosions lit the darkness. The humans were relentless, precise, and deadly. Every victory reinforced a simple truth: never underestimate humanity. As the Aurora prepared to lead the fleet to the next engagement, Rhea spoke to her crew. "We have taken the first step. The swarm has felt our power. The Council has seen what humans can do. But this is just the beginning. We strike again, we strike hard, and we do not stop until the galaxy knows that humans are not just survivors. They are the hunters of the stars." The stars seemed to shine brighter that night, as if acknowledging humanity's determination. The humans, though young and underestimated, were beginning to reshape the galaxy's understanding of power. And far away, the Zereth swarm lurked, adapting, calculating, and preparing. But the humans would be ready. They had railguns, strategy, and the courage to face any odds. They had proven that even a small young species could change the tide of war. The offensive had begun. And humanity would not stop until the swarm and the galaxy understood their strength. The galaxy was no longer the same. After the first strike and the human-led counteroffensive, whispers of humanity's strength spread across countless star systems. The Galactic Council, once proud and confident, now trembled in fear and respect. Their fleets had been shattered, their flagship commands exposed, and their own species forced to rely on humans to survive. Captain Rhea Malik stood on the bridge of the Aurora, staring at the holographic projection of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas of recent swarm activity. Blue zones showed Council fleets now coordinated under human direction, and green zones were human-controlled perimeters. Lieutenant Omar Chen broke the silence. Captain, we've successfully established defensive grids around 3 critical sectors. The swarm hasn't breached them yet. Rhea nodded. Good, keep monitoring. But defensive measures alone won't win this war. We need to strike back at the swarm's core. We need to show the galaxy that humans are not only capable of defending themselves, they are capable of leading the fight. In the council chambers, the mood had changed dramatically. Once dismissive delegates now argued for cooperation with humans. Admiral Corval of the armored species addressed the assembly. We cannot deny it any longer, he said, his voice heavy with humility. Human strategy, their railguns, their precision, they have kept our fleets alive. If not for them, the swarm would have consumed entire sectors. We must accept their guidance. Councillor Vera, the golden-winged Seraphian, replied, I agree. They have proven their worth. Humans are indispensable. We must work with them, not against them. Delegates whispered and argued. But the message was clear. The era of human underestimation was over. Meanwhile, in space, humans prepared for the next offensive. The Aurora led a fleet of human and council ships, forming a mobile strike force capable of both defense and precise attacks. Unlike the Council's traditional approach, slow, massive formations designed for intimidation, the human-led fleet emphasized speed, adaptability, and calculated precision. Captain, Omar said, pointing at the holo map. We've identified a swarm supply cluster near the Viral Nebula. Destroying it could cripple their ability to resupply and regroup. Rhea's eyes narrowed. Then that's our target. Railguns ready. Coordinate with Council ships, but remember, they follow our lead. Timing is everything. The fleet moved as one, weaving between asteroid fields and debris from previous battles. Humans fired the first volleys, railguns streaking across space, striking swarm tendrils and nodes with deadly accuracy. Council ships, for the first time, followed human orders precisely, firing when directed and retreating when necessary. The swarm reacted, twisting and expanding its formations. But every move was anticipated. Humans had learned their patterns, predicted their adaptations, and exploited weaknesses. Explosions erupted across the nebula, each one a testament to the humans' planning and skill. Captain, Omar said, excitement in her voice. Their central supply node is exposed. We can destroy it completely. Rhea's lips pressed into a thin line. Then we do it. Full volleys, no hesitation. The fleet unleashed a synchronized attack. Railguns fired in unison, hitting the node from multiple angles. Explosions tore through the swarm's structures, disabling critical supply lines and scattering smaller tendrils across space. The swarm faltered, and for the first time it retreated in disorder. Across the galaxy, the Council watched in awe. Fleets that had once been proud and confident now realized the full impact of human leadership. They began to rely on human tactics, forming formations under Captain Rhea's guidance, coordinating strikes, and learning to think as humans did. Fast, precise, and unpredictable. In the aftermath of the battle, humans moved quickly to secure captured nodes, rescue survivors, and repair damaged ships. The Council, humbled and grateful, began sending envoys to the Aurora. They sought advice, strategy, and training. Humans agreed, but only on terms of respect and equality. No longer would they be treated as a minor species. Captain, Omar said quietly, some Council leaders are asking us to permanently lead joint operations. They want humans to be in command. Rhea nodded slowly. They are learning. But leadership is not just about power. It's about responsibility. We will guide them, yes, but we must ensure the galaxy learns to respect human ingenuity, not just fear it. In orbit around a recently liberated system, humans established a forward base. Railguns were deployed on orbital platforms capable of defending entire planets. Scouts monitored for swarm activity, while engineers continued developing new technologies. Humans were no longer just defenders, they were guardians, innovators, and strategists. Captain, Omar said, our railguns can now fire in extended patterns. We could defend multiple systems simultaneously. Rhea smiled faintly. Then we will. Humanity has a duty to protect, not to dominate, but we will also show that no species, no matter how old or proud, can underestimate us again. Word of human leadership spread across the council sectors. Where once there had been skepticism, now there was admiration. Humans had proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could outweigh age, size, and tradition. Counselor Vera approached Rhea via holographic projection. "Captain Malik, your leadership has changed the course of this war. The Council, we owe you our survival." Rhea's expression was calm but firm. "We did what needed to be done." The galaxy must understand that survival requires more than pride. It requires action, strategy, and the willingness to fight when others hesitate. Even as the humans strengthened their positions, the Zerath swarm was not idle. It adapted, rebuilt, and shifted its formations. Yet each attack was met with precise countermeasures, railgun volleys, and coordinated fleets. Humanity had learned to anticipate, to predict, and to strike where the swarm was weakest. On board the Aurora, Rhea addressed her crew. "Every victory we achieve is a lesson for the galaxy. Every system we protect is proof that humans are not to be underestimated. We fight not just for survival, but to teach others that ingenuity and courage can shape destiny." The crew nodded, their faces set with determination. Engineers continued calibrating railguns. Medics tended to the wounded, and scouts monitored the void for any sign of enemy movement. Humans had become the backbone of the Council's defenses, respected, feared, and admired across countless systems. "Captain," Omar said after hours of monitoring, "Council fleets are now able to coordinate without our direct orders in small engagements." "They've learned quickly." Rhea allowed herself a small smile. "Good. But we will continue to lead the main offensives. Humans cannot just survive, they must set the standard. We fight smart, fast, and together. That is how we win." Across the galaxy, humans had proven their value. The Council, once arrogant and dismissive, now depended on human strategy, technology, and leadership. And the Zerath swarm, relentless as ever, would soon face the full force of a species that had been underestimated for too long. The stars seemed to burn brighter that day, reflecting the determination of humanity. They had earned the galaxy's attention, respect, and fear, not through diplomacy but through skill, courage, and the will to survive. Rhea looked at the holomap, planning the next move. "We will strike again. The swarm will not recover fully, and the galaxy will see that humans are not just survivors. They are leaders, innovators, and warriors. They will learn that ignoring humanity is a mistake no one can afford." And far away the Zerath swarm stirred, unaware that it was no longer the hunter. Humanity had become the predator, and the galaxy had learned that when humans fought, they did so with intelligence, courage, and an unstoppable will. The Council had finally learned the truth. Humanity was not just another species. Humans were essential, humans were a force, and humans would lead the fight against the darkness that threatened the galaxy. The galaxy had changed forever. Humans, once dismissed as a young and inconsequential species, had survived the initial onslaught of the Zerath swarm. They had defended worlds, led fleets, and shown the galaxy the deadly precision of their railguns. Now it was time to end the swarm's reign of destruction. Captain Rhea Malik stood on the bridge of the Aurora, surrounded by her trusted crew. The holographic map displayed the swarm's core location, a massive cluster of biomechanical warships and central command nodes deep within uncharted space. "Captain," Lieutenant Omar Chen said, her eyes glued to the display, "we've confirmed the swarm's core is heavily defended, but many supply tendrils are weakened from our previous attacks. If we strike now, we can destroy their command nodes and cripple their fleet permanently." Rhea's expression was calm but fierce. "Then we strike. Humans have fought to survive, and now we fight to finish this. Prepare all railguns. Coordinate with Council fleets. This is our moment to lead, and we will not fail." Across the galaxy, Council ships moved under human guidance. For the first time, fleets that had once ignored humanity now followed human orders without hesitation. Training, strategy, and countless victories had earned respect. The Council's pride had been replaced with trust and necessity. The human-led fleet advanced toward the swarm's core. The Aurora led the way, followed by a formation of agile human warships and slower but heavily armed Council vessels. Sensors detected the swarm's defensive perimeter, massive tendrils, rapid-fire turrets, and mobile command nodes. every element designed to repel attackers. "Captain," Omar said, "they've detected us. Swarm tendrils are moving into attack formation." Rhea nodded. "Then we show them what humans do when cornered. Fire all railguns on my mark." The first volleys streaked across space. Railguns fired with near light speed, hitting the swarm's outer defenses with deadly precision. Explosions erupted as tendrils were severed, supply nodes destroyed, and enemy ships sent spinning into the void. The swarm responded, twisting and shifting its formations, but humans anticipated every move. "Focus on command nodes," Rhea ordered. "We take out the brain first and the rest will fall apart." Council fleets fired under human direction, supporting the railgun strikes and diverting the swarm's attention. Explosions lit the dark expanse, each one a testament to careful planning, precision, and unyielding courage. Humans moved with unmatched coordination, each ship striking where it could inflict maximum damage and retreating before the swarm could react. The Aurora dove between two massive tendrils, railguns firing from both sides. A supply node exploded under the concentrated assault, sending debris scattering across space. Sensors picked up the core cluster's weakening structure. "Captain," Omar said, her voice tense but exhilarated, "the central node is exposed. We can destroy it if we fire everything we've got." Rhea's jaw tightened. "Then we do it. No hesitation, no mercy. Humanity's will must be seen and felt across the stars." The fleet launched a coordinated strike. Every railgun fired, creating a continuous streak of light across the void. Council ships provided cover, drawing fire from the swarm while humans delivered the decisive blows. Explosions erupted as the central node of the swarm shattered. Massive shockwaves rippled across space, and countless swarm ships were destroyed instantly. The swarm screamed, an eerie mechanical cry that reverberated through sensors, and then faltered. Its tendrils twisted in confusion, command nodes scrambled, and for the first time the swarm retreated in disarray. Humans had struck the heart and crippled it completely. "Captain," Omar said, scanning the aftermath, "it's over, at least for now. The swarm's core is destroyed. Their fleet is in chaos." Rhea allowed herself a small smile, though her eyes remained vigilant. "We've won a great victory, but the galaxy must remain ready. The swarm may rebuild, adapt, or return, but humans have shown that even the deadliest threat cannot withstand intelligence, precision, and courage." Council delegates, watching via holographic transmission, erupted in relief and admiration. The prideful species that had once dismissed humanity now recognized the truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, innovators, and warriors. Admiral Corval spoke, his voice filled with awe. "Captain Malik, humans have saved us all. Your leadership, your strategy, it is beyond anything we imagined." "The galaxy owes you everything," Rhea shook her head. "The galaxy owes nothing. Humanity fought because we had to. We fought to survive and to ensure others had a chance to survive. That is what makes us strong." Across the fleet, medics and engineers worked tirelessly, repairing damaged ships and rescuing survivors. Every human ship that returned from battle was a symbol of resilience, ingenuity, and the refusal to be underestimated. Rhea turned to Omar. "We must establish forward bases in these liberated sectors. Railguns, defensive platforms, and fleets must remain vigilant. We cannot assume the swarm is gone forever." "Yes, Captain," Omar replied. "The galaxy will remember humanity, not for diplomacy, but for action. We've earned respect through strength and strategy." In the weeks following the counterstrike, humans guided the Council in rebuilding fleets, strengthening defenses, and developing new technologies. Railguns were deployed on orbital platforms around key worlds, capable of defending entire planets from attack. Humans trained Council fleets in the art of speed, coordination, and precision, turning them into a formidable, unified force under human strategy. "Captain," Omar said one night, observing the stars, "the galaxy is changing because of us. The Council has learned to respect humanity. Even the younger species are asking for our guidance." Rhea nodded. "Good, but respect is earned continuously. We will continue to lead, to innovate, and to fight. Humanity will not be forgotten, not as prey, not as a minor species, but as a force to be reckoned with." Meanwhile, scattered remnants of the Zareth swarm fled into uncharted regions of space. Some regrouped, some were destroyed, but all had felt the full force of human ingenuity and firepower. For the first time, A young species had challenged a terrifying galactic predator and survived. In the council chambers, debates continued, but the tone had shifted. Pride was replaced by humility, arrogance by admiration. Humans were no longer outsiders, they were central to the galaxy's survival. They had proven that even a species underestimated for centuries could change the course of history. Rhea addressed her crew one final time before returning to Earth's sector for resupply and reinforcement. We have won an important victory, but this is just the beginning. Humanity will continue to grow, to defend, and to lead. The galaxy now knows that we are not just survivors, we are pioneers, warriors, and leaders. Remember this moment. Remember what we have done together, and never forget. Humanity will never be ignored again. The crew stood in silence, absorbing the weight of their achievements. Engineers, medics, pilots, and officers each had played a role in shaping the galaxy's future. Every railgun fired, every strategy devised, every life risked had changed the balance of power. As the Aurora soared through the stars, the human fleet followed, a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. Council ships flew alongside, now trained, coordinated, and ready to fight under human guidance. Across the galaxy, systems once lost were being rebuilt, and civilizations once on the brink of extinction were given a second chance. Rhea looked out at the endless expanse of stars. Somewhere far beyond their current position, the remaining swarm lurked, but she was not afraid. Humans had faced impossible odds before. They had fought, survived, and emerged stronger. The galaxy had learned a simple truth: never underestimate humanity. And as the first rays of a distant sun glimmered across the Aurora's hull, Captain Malik whispered almost to herself, "We are not just part of the galaxy. We shape it. We protect it. And we will never stop fighting for it." For the first time, the galaxy knew that humans were not merely a young species. They were a power, a force, and a symbol of hope. And as long as humans had railguns, intelligence, and the will to survive, no threat, no matter how terrifying, would ever conquer them. The war had been won, but the story of humanity's rise was only beginning. The galaxy would remember this moment, not for the fleets that fell, not for the worlds consumed, but for the species that refused to be ignored, refused to be defeated, and refused to be underestimated. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars, and nothing would ever take it away.